Hello, Factorio people. Welcome back to the broadcasts from Krastorio. Episode 8. We're in the middle of doing the big changeover. Most of the early game, most of the vanilla game content is done and dusted, as far as I can tell. So let's jump straight into it. Don't forget to let me know if you like what's going on here with comments and subscriptions and likes and all of that YouTube stuff. Other than that, let's get straight into it, shall we? We were just finishing up all the basic research. All the vanilla game research. Not really vanilla game research, but the last one is the atomic bomb. I had the stupid idea with the bloody buffer of tech cards, and it didn't really work, so I hand-fed military the whole bloody time. Really don't recommend you do that. If you're playing Krastorio 2 with the military science on normal and not on peaceful mode, just automate the damn stuff. You only need biomass, coke and steel, and then some electronic components. Just do it. I hand-fed it into the machines this whole time. What a mistake. But anyway, here comes the atomic bomb. And this means that we can tear down quite a large portion of the base. We will no longer ever again need a red tech card, a green tech card, a military tech card, or a chemical tech card. Which is quite a lot of the base, if you think about it. At least, you know. So obviously the goal is to expand into megabase territory with the grid system here, as I spoke about at length in the previous episode, and turn this starter base into the glorified mall. So what can we get rid of now that we don't need any of the early game science anymore? Well, this, and this, and this, and bloody this, and my inventory is full now, and this, and I'm gonna keep the rocket up because obviously I set all the bloody rocket stuff going, and yes, my inventory is full. Please stop. Oh my god, what have I done, and why have I done it? I set the rocket launchers up and then have not used a single space research data to do anything. So that's a mistake. So let's clear up all of the stuff that the base no longer needs and see what that leaves us with. These robots are... here they come. Here they come. Let's leave them to it. Huge swaths of the base. Just gone. Never to be seen again. Rest in peace. So what are we going to do with all of our newfound stuff? Well, I mean, module production is continuing. Very slowly, but it is at least there. The landfill is ploughing along as we add more and more of the megabase sections in. This whole section here that makes engines, which makes electric engine, and then robo frames, is also a bit superfluous to our needs now. But I'm gonna leave it because you never know when you suddenly need to add 500 extra robots to the network, especially as we are continuing to expand quite severely into this space here. This was the space I deemed that we were going to start, and we filled in the lake. Wasn't too much of a hassle, I suppose, all things considered. Wasn't too much. So really we just need to start thinking about actually beginning to put more sections of the 100 science per minute base down. That's the next major goal. The next major goal is 100 science per minute of the final 6 tech cards, the late game tech cards. Production, utility, optimization, matter, and 2 more which we haven't researched yet, advanced and singularity. So I suppose we should bloody just do it. I guess we should just get going. Just start from scratch. We've got the iron module up. I spoke about that a bit before. And I'm going to just do it with red belts and this tier of stuff, and we'll get to 100 science per minute with hopefully red belts and maybe some blue belts. I might hook the blue belts up at some point, who knows. Just in case we need a lot of throughput in a particular module. But red belts in this tier, and the access to the tier of machines that we currently have should be enough to get us to 100 science per minute quite comfortably. And then once we got 100 science per minute set up, we can do an endgame wall, tear down the whole base, and then start talking about the big plan, which I have briefly mentioned before. I had a number in my mind. It was 5,000 science cards per minute. I don't know if that's going to be possible, if I am capable of that. But my previous Krastorio 2 megabase video was about 4,000 over 2 slightly different base concepts. So 5,000 in one big base concept shouldn't be too bad, should it? Right, I suppose we better get to work. I say that, but apparently what I thought I would do is clear some buyers out. Clear some buyers out of the expansion zone. We want this space, biters, I'm afraid. Now we've gone to all the effort of researching all the military stuff, so we may as well see what's going on. Personal laser defences in Krastorio are a lot worse than in vanilla. They absolutely eat through your batteries. Like, look, I mean, yikes. I mean, down here you can see. That's 80%, that's 20% of my battery gone already. I mean, they're still strong, don't get me wrong. They're still good. But that has eaten up. That one fairly small biter thing is... Yep, the batteries are still going because my laser things are recharging. That one fairly modest sized base used over half of my battery power. I don't know how much of that was the shield generator, but still. So it's not... Just waltzing in with some shields and some lasers is not particularly viable in this. And these big bases, you know, not sure the defender robots are really cutting it anymore. Yeah, the big problem, of course, is that even with your exoskeletons, the creep slows you down. And when the creep's slowing you down, and then the biter spits, the biter poison also slows you down. It's not too difficult to just get caught in a situation where you are dead. But equally, all things considered, still not too difficult. You know, I am still, of course, on foot. I've not been bothered to build a tank or do anything like that. But personal laser defences, I mean, these are the submachine laser defences as well. There are also sniper laser defences, which use 4 megajoules per shot and a maximum consumption of 6 megawatts, compared with these submachine gun ones, which are 350 kilojoules and 7 megawatts recharge. So, I mean, much more energy per shot and a shooting speed of 20 per second, whereas this is much slower and a much higher range. I maybe should have tried these. But still, it doesn't really matter. The biters, as we say, they are kind of trivial, especially when I've gone through all the effort of researching all the military. So clearing this space should not be too laborious. Hello. You join me in the copper mines. The copper mines which we have secured down here, south of the base, south of the mega base. What's missing? A couple of miners. Quite loud, aren't they? It's a very nice industrial feel to it. I decided, this isn't really hugely important, but it is worth mentioning. Given that we're now using these Mark II miners, which have a much larger, well I say much larger, one tile, bigger area, so this miner here actually covers these squares roughly. The important thing is they cover. It's quite easy for them to cover this gap here. So even though this is a gap, it is covered by quite a few miners on both sides. Because the mining area is 7 by 7 as opposed to 5 by 5. And given Krastorio's decision to make each pair of underground belts, why did I craft that? Each pair of underground belts need the number of belts that bridge the gap. It behooves you, at least in my opinion, to use this simple mining setup and put your power poles in between, rather than a much more expensive option where your power poles go in amongst the mining belts and broken up with underground belts. So this is 606 belts, which is still a lot, but it's nothing if you would imagine that each one of these power poles would actually need a set of undergrounds as well. So that would be 16 underground belts. Well, 8 pairs of underground belts. You know what I'm saying. I'm taking a very long time to say something that's quite simple. The value analysis of this is not so apparent with red belts, but when you look at a blue underground which needs 20 express transport belts, because the max length of that is 20, and then your green ones need 30 green belts, each one of which needs 1 rare metals, 4 steel gear wheels, and the blue belt that came before it. Yikes! You can't just be mindlessly putting green undergrounds down. Good God. So yes, so we got the copper in. There's a nice big coal patch here that we can use. I always find, I feel like, oh, this is so far away, it's so far away. We're going to expand quite quickly. This iron patch, I should not have picked this one. I should have picked possibly this one. Definitely should have picked this one before this one. Because this is going to just have to go, because we're going to need the space sooner rather than later. I also thought it would be funny to bring up how absolutely done the map generation did us. How much we have been done with the rare metal spawn. So the water ate a big chunk of this one, which is annoying. It ate a moderate chunk of this one, which is annoying. This one is mostly fine, but it is still by the water. It ate a good chunk of this one. Look at this. How rude. And then the next closest one is this one as well. So, rare metals, you know, I'm worried. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. I'm worried. We know there's a one up here. Yeah, so we've got iron, we've got copper coming into the base, we've got access to coal, we've got access to stone, we've got access to crude oil. We really should just spend a bit of time putting the basic building blocks of a Factorio base into the modules, into these megabase slots here. And that shouldn't take too long, really, all things considered. Because obviously smelting we can just copy and paste and change the recipes to iron. And we can just build little modules for everything else. So let's. Wowzers trousers. Copper. Green circuits. Glass. Silicon. Wood. That wasn't too bad. It took about 2.5 hours according to my save file saving time data. I don't, you know, I'm not going to make a save file for each one of these. They're all pretty self-explanatory. Green circuits, you know. I feel like it was important to just not over-design them because they're definitely going to go. They're not going to. These are not going to last anywhere near a length of time that could be defined as forever. They are extremely transient. As long as the numbers are there, the aesthetics is extremely secondary to the fact that I just want the production to happen. The design of the grid section itself lends itself quite well to doing stuff like this. Just unload the boxes. I do make the decision a bit later down the line to be a bit more sensible with resources. Unloading the trains with red belts is fine, but if all 4 of these are only ever consuming a quarter of a belt, then why spend the red loader? Just use the yellow loader. So green circuits. This will make enough green circuits for everything we need. It doesn't look like a lot, but don't forget Krastorio 2, the demand for green circuits is a lot lower because a lot of it you have more of a demand of electronic components instead. Glass. All we need to make glass is stone in, crushers into sand, sand smelted into glass. Wood is wood. I've tried, and you'll see this a bit more in some of these other grid sections up here, I've tried to only use water fill where I have previously used landfill. I'm not saying I will be able to stick to that 100%, but I will try and do that. I don't know if that makes anybody feel better at all, but there we go. And silicon is also stone into sand, into quartz, into silicon. Even though quartz is an ingredient in other things, I have elected to not put quartz into a station. It goes into heat pipes, which only go into nuclear reactors. It goes into laser turrets, and that is it. So we have to be thinking of end game here. Heat pipes we will not need in the end game. There are better power options than nuclear. Laser turrets we will not need in the end game because we will not need to defend the base with a mere laser turret. And if we do want laser turrets for any reason, because they go into laser defense things for our modular armor, I will just pick up some quartz with my bare hands. Okay. I do want to look at some other offensive options. Mainly artillery, because I want to play with some artillery. So let's have a look at that, shall we? Artillery. Fairly easy to make explosives into whatever these are, explosive shells into artillery shells. So the recipe is slightly different. But the cannons are cheap enough. If you're going to go out in your car and get your personal laser defences out to destroy the biters, you may as well just do it like this, to some degree, at least. Because if I turn the turret coverage on, the automatic coverage is not very good. The manual target coverage with the research, well, not even with the research, just with what you have, like you just don't even need any, is huge. And then you pair that with these explosives research that you've already done, and I suppose you could put down some turrets. Because how this is going to work, if you know, I'm sure everybody knows this already. It's quite simple. This is still a manual process, of course, but it's a little bit different and slightly more interesting than going out in a car or in a tank, I suppose. Pew, pew. Now, they don't like that. Of course not. Why would they? They will very quickly congregate and launch waves. I've got 4 of these. They don't even need the power. This is only here to power the laser turrets. I should put a radar down as well. It would be sensible. So they will bum rush you afterwards. Of course they will. But I found that with some laser turrets here, and then some distractor capsules in front of the laser turrets to draw the fire of the spitters, this is pretty brainless and free. If you just have the laser turrets, the spitters will do damage to them and damage the laser turrets, and there's a risk there that you do actually spend some resources. But with the distractor capsules within the range of the laser turrets, they're going to get this far. And the distractor capsules are pretty cheap, all things considered. Wow, you were extremely late to the party. 3 advanced circuits on top of the 4 defender capsules, and the defender capsules are basically nothing. And of course, if you do this faster and more efficient than I'm doing it, then the distractor capsules, these last 2 minutes anyway, and this is very easy, and it's very satisfying, and it is somehow even more safe. Oh, I was too late on that. Oh no, wait, no! No, it's somehow even more safe. If you go around and you drive a car or a tank, there is still the chance that you mess that up. This is extremely difficult to mess up, in my opinion. And I'm being extremely overzealous here in how much biter destruction I'm doing versus how the risk of any of these biters ever causing me a problem ever. But I wanted to play, I wanted an experiment, you know, like... I've only really recently decided that the biters are manageable and not annoying. I mean, they are annoying still. Let's be honest, they are annoying, but... Please don't try and sneak past into the base. Come this way. Yes, so... this is easy and relatively cheap. And the distractor capsules have gone, but that still has not caused a problem. You can even throw poison capsules at them if you really want. So many options. Myriad options. Okay. I mean, this is a fairly big wave, I guess. Let's see how... Yeah, so I mean that's really the only reason you would ever need the distractor capsules, if you just don't ever want this to happen. But that versus just taking the down. You know, it's nothing, but with the distraction capsules, it is foolproof, in my opinion. Okay, so after that brief interlude, let's continue expanding the base. Yeah, clear some biters. Clear some biters from up here as well. I guess the only downside to the artillery is it does leave a lot of these radar artifacts, you know? Like, there aren't actually any biters here. I just killed this base and then the radar has not scanned that chunk yet. Anyway, electronic components are in. Another hideous design, I do apologise. Oil's in as well. I mentioned this before in the episode about utility tech cards and how, because you don't need the light oil to make rocket fuel in this mod, there is another recipe. I have decided to not do anything with the petroleum, with the crude oil, except turn it into petroleum. Are any of these trains coming back? Now, the only mistake with that is that you do need lubricant to make electric engine units, because electric engine units go into advanced tech cards. So we will need to do something about that at some point. But you don't need the light oil. You definitely do not need the light oil. It goes into rocket fuel. There's a coke liquefaction as well. Solid fuel, fuel. You don't need any of these beyond the rocket fuel, but there are other recipes for the rocket fuel. I'm probably going to do this ammonia oxygen one for massive amounts of rocket fuel for the megabase. Can't see why I would use the light oil one. I would rather just crack the light oil into petroleum, because petroleum's going to need to go into plastic and sulfuric acid. So yes, this is my module for oil cracking. Again, I've tried to use the water fill in previously landfilled areas. My stacked refineries. And obviously don't need any circuit conditions, because I'm not reliant on having a stockpile of light oil or lubricant anywhere currently, so just put all of the heavy oil into a tank and crack that as it's needed, and then put all of the light oil into another tank and turn that into petroleum as it's needed. Where are these bloody trains making electronic components? I suppose it doesn't really matter. I suppose we don't really need to wait for it. Oh, here comes one. Which one's this? The silicon! Huzzah! Okay. So the building blocks are pretty much in place. From here we can do red circuits. We have everything to make red circuits now. And then we also have everything except rare metals to make processing units. So we're going to need to think about that. But there was something else I wanted to do, just because I felt like a bit of a challenge. And I didn't want to just continue to make things that we'd already made. So I wanted to make something new, just to tie up this episode. So let me show you. I've done the lithium. I've done the lithium. Let me open the milestones. Mineral water. First mineral water mined at 34 hours 43 minutes. You can make lithium from just mineral water, providing you have some chlorine somewhere that you can seed the process with. And it's a pretty strange recipe. You need hydrogen chloride, but you don't ever consume the chlorine. The hydrogen chloride in the mineral water makes lithium chloride. And then with water from the ground and the lithium chloride, you get the lithium, but you get the chlorine back. So, I've put 2 speed modules in this just so I only needed one of them. 2 speed modules doubles the speed. So this is self-contained as far as the well, this. The whole thing's self-contained. This is all self-contained. The chlorine goes back and makes the hydrogen chloride. And then the hydrogen you just pull from the atmosphere with the condensers. So it doesn't matter that these very overproduce. Sorry, these underproduce for this. This overproduces, but it literally can't overproduce, because for every single one chlorine you get back from this process, it will just turn back into hydrogen chloride in this plant, and then turn into lithium chloride. Once you start adding prod modules to this, obviously it gets more complicated, so every step you get more out than you put in. You get the lithium, but you get more chlorine out than you put in. And then you have to start thinking about venting and stuff like that. Or you turn the excess... You use the chlorine and the extra hydrogen you're getting as hydrogen chloride to do something else with. You turn that in the same module into... What was my plan? I was going to do this at one point. Yeah, you turn that into some rocket fuel maybe. Or... I had another plan, I can't remember what it was. Maybe make the nitric acid in the same module, was it? No, because that's the ammonia with the excess. I don't remember. There's a good chance that I never prod module this, just because this is very cheap and easy. Just mineral water and actual water from an offshore pump. Which, again, you'll notice I managed to put in a place where I'd previously used landfill, so not technically cheating. I am technically cheating. I've done lithium builds before in this mod where I brought sand in to make the hydrogen chloride, and it's annoying. It gets out of hand. If you do it like this, yes, granted you can't use prod modules, and you need a lot of this because this recipe takes 25 seconds in a machine that is only ever going to be crafting speed 1. So you can speed it up. You can use speed modules. But prod modules might not be the way to go with lithium. But as I say, it's fine, because the only input this needs is mineral water. And this makes the lithium. So there's a good chance that we go back to hand-feeding science machines to make matter research data, because the only other thing we need to make is imersite crystals. But imersite crystals are a whole different kettle of fish. The only thing I did do extra... Did I? Where is it? Sulfuric acid. I thought I built sulfuric acid somewhere. Hold, please. I did build sulfuric acid. I built it up here. This tiny little module. There's an argument to be made for bringing iron into this module here. So this module brings in crude oil and iron and outputs sulfuric acid and petroleum. Because again, sulfur, we don't need it. Sulfur goes into sulfuric acid and explosives, and if you don't need explosives for any offensive capabilities and cliff explosives, then you don't need sulfur. So that's good. Obviously we need sulfur down here because we're making artillery shells, but by the time the megabase is done, there will be an extremely simple long-term solution to the biters, and we won't really need to worry about it. I hooked up the coal and this crude oil patch. I used this stone patch. I changed, obviously, as I expanded the megabase down, I tidied up some of the rails. I tidied up some of these blueprints. None of these blueprints for rails had signals in them, which was obviously a recipe for disaster. At one point I thought I was going to bring artillery and trains, and obviously that's a waste of time when you just walk over there and put the artillery turrets down and they cover half the bloody map. Yeah, so I've just put some simple... Well, apparently I've not done it here. Some simple signals in. As more and more trains started going around the base, then signalling becomes more apparent on these long stretches. But anyway, that is beside the point. We've done quite a lot in this episode, I feel like. So what's next? Not, you know, just gonna keep ploughing on. Definitely do some more basic stuff, you know. What I would like is I'd like to get advanced circuits and processing units up and running so that we can maybe bring 4 things into one module and start mass producing effect modules. I know I say module for grid section, sorry. Have a grid section making modules so that we can start actually using those modules in some of these builds, because currently, even though my 100 science per minute... Oh, it's plastic. Did I show you plastic? I didn't show you plastic. I'm using this coal patch for now, just because it's right there. And why not? Eh? Why not? Yeah, my 100 science per minute calculator on factoriolab.github.io does assume I'm using modules. So even though these builds do all work, they don't make enough currently because I'm assuming productivity modules. Although they must make enough because productivity modules are only they're gonna slow things down, so that it's gonna cause bottlenecks basically. Because things are actually going to be used too fast, and I'm not going to get enough of them, or something like that. But anyway, I want modules. Gonna need loads of modules for sure. So yes, currently we're on. I don't think another milestone has happened. No, we're on about 35, 36 hours. So, you know, I'm a slow player. I've mentioned that before. The starter base is drying up quite severely. Okay, alright, let's wrap this one up. This is sort of tailing off into no man's land, isn't it? Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please let me know with a like or a comment. And if you want to see more Krastorio, be sure to subscribe. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Take care. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.